This episode is brought to you by Trailer Park Yard Games, where over 28 games are delivered directly to your party. We park the trailer, you party.
A Canadian trucker strike could literally impact cargo moving out of Shanghai or something.
Wow.
It's
So
all
you couldn't
interlinked.
get your new Apple device. We laugh at him because
Bill is always having first world problems.
well, he walks in and our
Internet literally stopped.
because he has an iWatch and eyeglasses, he has his computer, he has an eye stapler,
Got his
he has
Bluetooth, the
They're jealous, man.
iPod.
his eye pacemaker.
He's got everything.
But here's the thing:
it's
I've never
all-
had trouble getting new Apple products ever.
Well, because you're a preferred customer.
Yeah.
You've spent millions
Fine.
of dollars, so they just
They send it straight to you.
Let's have a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.
All right, hello. I am Sarah Paget, and this is the PB and Jaisy show. We've got Jaisy
And Bill.
and today we're joined by Matt Smith, which we'll talk about him here in just a minute. But the subject today, and we're all feeling it. No longer are the days that we have instant gratification. Other than maybe
Well-
Amazon, do we get packages super quickly? Things are taking
Amazon
long.
has slowed down though some.
They have. My mom, she's got some kind of tunnel because she gets it like next day. But tell
Here-
us about your couch.
Here's what I want to know. I bought
gosh.
a couch a year
Here we
ago.
go.
A couch, 2 chairs.
A year?
A year.
I've heard furniture's bad right now.
A couch, 2 chairs, and 2 ottomans, and they charged me 2 arms and 2 legs, and they told me
Still
it was
don't
made
have
in
it.
the U.S. Obviously
They're still
not.
making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just got a notice it's delayed at least another 2 months.
Well, and by the time you get it, it's going to be out of style. You're going to want another
Yeah.
couch.
No, it probably won't be out of style. This is
It might work in your favor though, because at the beginning of the pandemic, we bought some outdoor furniture and it was supposed to come in 3 boxes. So like a month later, we got 1 box. And then like 2 days later, we got that same box again. And then at the end of it, we got 3 sets of outdoor furniture for the price of 1.
My brother got 2 treadmills for the price of one.
this won't
They
work
wouldn't
in my
even take it
favor.
back.
I think they
These are
forgot that
huge pieces
I
of
think
furniture.
they forgot that they sent it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we need to send that one thing. Oh yeah, hey Bill, did you do that? All right, I'll just go ahead and send it again."
I'd rather have them
Well,
twice.
Matt, where's my couch?
Yeah.
Where's your couch? That's a very good
Can I
question.
give you a tracking number?
Absolutely.
So today we're going to talk about the supply chain a little bit, and Matt's going to be able to speak to how some of that works and how it looks when maybe it doesn't work.
So you have a face to blame.
Yes, it's all on Matt. You can
That
write
guy.
him at mattsmith.com. He's the only Matt Smith in the world. All right, Matt, tell us who you are, what you do,
Absolutely. So
and then
I'm.
you can tell us where Bill's couch is.
That's right. So almost 19 years in the logistics industry. I have mostly focused on air freight, some exposure to ocean and trucking, some domestic, some import, export. So certainly right now is a very unique time for supply chain and logistics. It seems like maybe a year ago, nobody ever talked about supply chain and how things moved. And where your couch is a very good question. And even being made in the U.S. doesn't mean that all the components were made here.
Gotcha.
When you think about the supply chain, it is a link to a link to a link. But what ties into your couch is there are many chains that go into the links of your couch.
Yeah.
So
It's like a domino effect.
correct. Well, if you've got maybe forklifts that need to move some of the fasteners around in a warehouse, well, that warehouse is now backed up because they can't get a forklift because the parts for the forklift are delayed and sitting off of a ship somewhere. And you've got maybe you've got leather that's coming from Italy or wherever that needs to come and be imported. Well, you've got a labor shortage because of COVID spikes in Europe. So all of these things get tied into
It goes
the
back
web.
to the cows.
It
on
does.
the leather,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. And everything ties into it.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got farming equipment that can't get exported to Italy to the farms that are raising the cattle because the farming equipment's not being made because of staffing shortages and because of forklift shortages and
Oh my.
all tied together. We've also seen trucking shortages globally as well, as truckers are not wanting to work as much because of COVID, or you've got restrictions for lockdowns. So that's slowed things down, huge all around the world.
So let's talk
Wow.
about pre-COVID, right? Because you said nobody really talked about supply chain prior to that. I never really heard a lot about it.
Never thought about it.
No. So tell us what COVID did. So pre-COVID, things run pretty smoothly. I mean, that's something that's a well-oiled machine, right?
Absolutely. Everybody builds their supply chain models around just in time. Nobody wants to maintain inventory. Inventory costs a lot of money. You have to have warehousing and you have to keep up with it. So when you have just in time, that works great. Whenever you need your parts for your assembly or for your Amazon orders or whatever you need, you have that arrive from the manufacturer just in time to make the deliveries.
So you're not holding it.
Correct.
Okay.
So that works great as long as everything is flowing just fine.
It works until it doesn't. Yeah.
Correct. And when we have a breakdown like COVID that gets compounded by all kinds of other issues, it breaks down everybody.
Okay.
And it takes a long time to recover. And coming, as we've progressed through COVID, there have been orders that have spiked. So people are now saying, well, I don't have enough, so I'm going to order.
Gotcha.
Overorder, so I have enough inventory.
Toilet paper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they overorder, which now creates a lot of demand in the supply chain, which
It's not predictable, right? Because they're saying all of a sudden, instead of, I need 5 of these, I need 15. And so then the person, instead of 3 people being able to get that same 15, people are hoarding or over ordering.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's it look like on unwinding all of this?
Well, freight has not stopped moving. Everything is moving and everything is going through. It's really $1 million question as to how does it get fixed, and it's just going to take time. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be a year or so before we get back to what we saw pre-pandemic. And I think you'll have people moving away from purely just in time to having some just in case as well. Which changes a lot. Something that's big for the real estate market around here is warehousing, and you're seeing a lot of people are going to want to house inventory and have more of that inventory available.
Right. Well, and I think too, you think about just the process of all of that, and we really don't think about the process of any of it until it hurts, right? Until
it affects you directly,
right? But you lived through 9/11, right? Were you in the industry at that point?
I started in the industry not long after, so a couple years afterwards.
So it didn't really have a big effect there. So COVID hits.
Well, 9/11 did,
but you weren't. I mean, you didn't get to see.
What happened was after 9/11, it was a few years before the 9/11 Commission released their guidance on the industry.
Gotcha.
So it was the formation of the TSA. These things changed the industry pretty dramatically. So
I'm sure with checking and because there was so much that didn't have to happen back then.
And you do most of what you're in charge of is air, right?
That's correct.
So that's probably where most of the stringency came down on.
Correct, yes.
What's different now?
The biggest thing, huge change in the industry is all cargo today is screened to the same level as passenger baggage.
Wow. So what kind of time did that add to?
It's pretty massive, yes.
Yeah.
So the regulations have changed so that you can do this screening at different parts in the supply chain as long as you maintain what's called a sterile supply chain. You can do it a little bit earlier in the process to
it's
try
like pre-check.
Correct. Yeah. So you check this in advance, and you have trusted shippers, things that are designed to help move it through.
But that still slows it down because
there's another step.
You had to add those steps in, and just in time. When I went to college was a new concept. Well, it wasn't that new of a concept, but people still, that was a long time ago. We had horses and buggies, but people had warehouses back then. We weren't dealing with a lot. They went just in time.
So you've got 9/11. You saw the after effects of that, and then COVID, which are things that no one had. It's not like we can say, last time when COVID happened, this is what we did.
Right.
So
Unprecedented time.
Tell us how that and how quickly that affected everything.
Everything changed very dramatically. About 60% of air cargo travels on passenger flights, and when passengers aren't traveling, you lose that capacity to move air cargo.
So when I get on a
aircraft.
regular plane, not only is my luggage there, but there's freight or something that's being moved to. Okay, I didn't know that.
Correct, yes.
So is that the reason why I can only bring a certain
50
amount of weight?
50 pounds.
Well, you can bring as much weight as you want. You're just going to get charged
They
for
pay
it.
for it.
Yes. So the space on an aircraft is a perishable commodity. Once that plane leaves, that's it. So they are going to maximize that cargo capacity as much as possible. They would love to charge you as much as possible for your luggage because they're charging more for your luggage than they are for my cargo.
So you put cargo on, so DFW, is that like an airport like that is something that your cargo goes in and out of?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Is it different stuff that would go on a passenger plane versus a freight plane?
Yes and no. Obviously, there's restrictions with the size that can go on the passenger aircraft, and some commodities are restricted from moving on passenger aircraft. So it's pretty broad what you can move on a passenger aircraft. But some of these new planes, they can haul a massive amount of cargo. You wouldn't think 20, 30 tons of cargo are going on a passenger flight, but that does happen.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's helped out the airlines a lot. With COVID coming, the airlines were able to convert a lot of their aircraft into just moving freight.
To keep money and revenue and stuff coming in.
Correct. And the government gave them money to keep operating. And so they were operating freight-only flights. So you'd have passenger aircraft that were moving nothing but cargo. And some of them went as far as to put cargo in seats and overhead bins, and they'd fly the aircraft.
Wow.
And then some of them even went to removing seats so that
To
they
have
could
the whole
move.
open.
Correct.
Wow.
Because the demand, I wouldn't feel like the demand lowered. If anything,
anything,
I
it
would
went
think
up.
it went up, right? Maybe
Correct.
looked differently, but
Well, demand it changed. So instead of consumer goods, you had masks, you had hand sanitizer, you had ventilators, massive shipments of this stuff going through. And then as people started working from home, you had huge demands for telecommunications equipment. So computers, routers, monitors, stuff for their home offices.
when I always think about like the excess, because somewhere in the world there is
Yeah.
a massive warehouse full of masks.
I had a showing in
That nasty
at
hand
the-
sanitizer that smells like alcohol.
I had a showing at the end of it was like December 2020. And I remember going in the garage and there just being stacks on stacks on stacks of toilet paper and paper towels. And
Which at some point you'll get to that, I would feel
I was
unless
like,
the rats get
why
there
is
first.
there so much toilet paper here? It was probably like 50 to 100 packages of toilet paper that this person was
Because
quoting.
people are crazy.
Yes.
Well, there were people that were like taking it and then selling it and upcharging and all
Right.
that too. But so what happens with the excess if they're not doing the just in time and they have that storage? What does storage for freight like that run? Because I know you've spoke to that's a big expense to hold things.
It's a big expense, and obviously the more you're paying in storage, that's reducing your margins. And it depends on if you need specialized storage. And a lot of times companies will liquidate inventory. They will give it away or sell it as cheap as possible just to stop the bleeding of paying for inventory.
for inventory. Because I would think it's something that's super cheap, something that doesn't net a ton of money, and then you're storing it like
So then it's costing you more money to
Costing
keep
you
it than
more.
to sell it.
yeah, or even to give it away.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to give it away
Cheaper
than
to
to
give
keep
away.
it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I know that a large component of the company that you work for is like the technology part of it. So I know that y'all recently had a security breach. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. We were the victim of a pretty massive cyber attack, and we've got several hundred offices globally, and all of our offices were down. All of our systems were shut down, which is
So you always had a movie day at work.
from the time that we went down.
Y'all were watching Heist.
Yeah.
There was certainly a lot of theories that were floating around, and quite honestly, the details have been pretty limited as far as what we've.
What do you think they'd have to be? I mean, like you said, being a global company,
Right.
we're talking millions and billions of dollars.
Imagine what happens if one of us loses an account because someone hacks us or something.
Like your Facebook.
Yeah, like my Facebook, and how much
Has that happened before?
it has, and the pain that
But
that
to Bill,
takes
someone
just
hacked
to an
his
individual.
Facebook is just
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, I mean, think about it. You're absolutely right. Think about if you're waiting for your shipment of computers to make your sale to your end customer, or if you're waiting for medical supplies to perform surgeries. I mean, these things are all
It's a big
impacted.
deal.
I know that that's happened a lot with hospitals where then it's just easier for them just to pay the ransom and get on with the day than to have it continue to be locked up. So what happened with that?
So as soon as we were attacked and we were brought down, we immediately went into a very intense mode of how are we going to move freight without our system? And very, very creative solutions that came up that we were able to move cargo, to keep stuff flowing.
An Excel spreadsheet.
Lots of Excel spreadsheets, yes. Lots
Yellow
of
notepad.
Ledger book.
A Google Drive.
yes. The older guys like myself that have been around for quite some time were like, oh, I remember how we do this without having EDI integration and
Something
connectivity.
that does it all
Correct.
automatically.
So we really leveraged our relationships with the airlines, steamship lines, truckers, and said, things are kind of crazy. If you can help us out, let's do things, kind of old
You
school.
kind of had a Y2K on your hands.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there was, I talked to a lady that they were in the gas, it was like AmeriGas, just like natural gas, whatever, and or propane. And they had to prove on paper before Y2K happened that they could still provide, they could still function, if computers went down. And she was like, we'll just use paper. Like but you don't think about that. You rely on your systems. It's like your GPS goes out in the middle of the country. You're like, what do I do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's intense. And how do we get our customs clearance information to China or Malaysia or South Africa if we can't transmit this electronically and we have no access to any kind of system tools that we normally have? So quite intense to get things
sounds like
moving.
a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yes, that's what I was saying. It's like a heist.
Yeah.
It's coming from inside the house.
So how long were y'all completely out or down?
We were completely down for about a month.
So your system's down, you're doing an antiquated system of some type to keep things moving, but your system is down for 3 weeks, you said?
Right. So we were moving freight the next day.
Okay, but not at the same speed or rate?
Correct. And we were getting better and better as time went on. We were enlisting a lot of help from technology companies. The government was helping us quite a bit to get back up to speed.
Okay.
And then now things are flowing back to somewhat normal.
How did y'all get them off y'all's back, kind of?
It's a good question. I don't really know the details on it, but I know that a lot of it was our internal teams. We have several thousand dedicated IS people that work for our company at our corporate office, and they've worked extremely hard to get things back online for us.
Make sure.
Wow.
So going forward, what looks different for your company? Is there things going? I'm sure there's things going in place to keep this from happening again.
Absolutely, yeah. Lots of new security features that are being implemented. We're a very large company, and a lot of security was in place before, but it's definitely ratcheted it up.
So talk to us about the size of your company. That was something that, as we were getting ready for this, I was shocked at how large you were.
Right.
You were the company. That was
right.
You are also very tall.
You are tall, not large, but
Talk to how large you are.
Right. So you think of logistics companies and shipping. You think UPS, FedEx, DHL. We're a little bit different. We're dedicated freight, so we're not in the business of moving things between personal effects. It's business to business type moves. Very large company, Fortune 500 company. We are the largest freight forwarder in the United States and one of the largest in the world.
So you're more behind the scenes. Like we wouldn't know. Like I wouldn't know that you guys are talking. Like businesses are talking to each other. You're not customer facing. You're talking.
Correct.
To
Yeah, our
okay.
customers are businesses, not end users.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if it's a Walmart or a oil and gas company or somebody that needs to move something very large quantities, that's where we get involved.
Can you speak to who some of your bigger businesses are? Are you allowed to talk about that at all?
Yeah, it's
Shout out.
Name
drop.
It's all big companies. Apple, Samsung, oil and gas companies, Schlumberger.
So you are moving like big equipment and stuff too. You were showing us some pictures before we started, and you are moving some big. It's not just like boxes. I always thought like, oh, he's moving boxes, but you're moving like big, major equipment
or pieces of things. I know one of the pictures you were sending was like a part for a something off
drilling.
oil and gas.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do that. We also do boxes. We could send something as small as 1 pound. That's something that does move. A prototype laptop or something that somebody needs for.
nothing too big or too small.
Yeah.
That's
We will
correct.
move
Yeah,
it all.
We will move it all.
We move big, small, whatever. So boxes of consumer goods. So think face masks or semiconductors. Silicon chips. To very large, oversized power plants that we've moved on ocean vessels. So it's.
That's so cool.
Nice.
that's crazy.
Do you get
'cause
to travel? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you get to travel a lot with your job?
I don't get to travel a lot, but something that's really neat is I get to interact with people all over the world.
That's cool.
So I'm talking to people everywhere, all regions of the world. I have traveled some, and I certainly enjoy that, and I like to interact with other cultures. But it's quite fascinating that literally everything in the world impacts our business. So you get up, you turn on the news, and you see a COVID surge is happening in Hong Kong. You're like, oh man, that's a major hub for air freight, or there's a lot of
That's where your brain goes. Yeah.
Right. There's crazy things that we see all the time that most people probably gloss over. A volcano in Iceland can shut down all kinds of business because of the ash cloud. There's things like Ramadan or Chinese New Year that are big impacts on the shipping world. So with that, in these regions,
Mardi Gras, go over there.
Right? Yeah, all these things are regional things that a lot of people may think, Chinese New Year's coming up. What does that mean? Well, in the logistics world, that's a big impact because there isn't as much manufacturing happening in Asia. So a lot of the aircraft will stop flying. They'll put them in maintenance, and then so you can't get cargo out of other places because those planes aren't moving back.
So you're literally just solving a puzzle every day.
Every single day. It's quite interesting.
So when the truckers in Canada all decide to blockade, that slows down what you're doing across the world.
That's correct. So you
Those
think
damn Canadians.
a Canadian trucker strike could literally impact cargo moving out of Shanghai or something.
Wow.
It's all
You couldn't get your
interlinked.
new Apple device. We laugh at him because
Bill is always having first world problems.
well, he walks in and our internet literally stops because he has an iWatch and eyeglasses. He has his computer. He has an eye stapler.
Got his
he has
Bluetooth,
They're
the
jealous, man.
iPod.
his eye pacemaker.
He's got everything.
But here's the thing: I've
it's
never
all-
had trouble getting new Apple products ever.
Well, because you're a preferred customer.
Yeah.
You've spent
Oh, no.
millions
Fine.
of dollars, so they just
They send it straight to you.
Well, I think it's so interesting because again, we've talked about this on several podcasts. A lot of times we're oblivious to things until we get to talk to somebody like you. And, when we're complaining about our couch that we're waiting on for so long, we think, why can't they just send me the couch? But you don't realize what all the moving parts.
Well, and I've got a friend, we all have a friend who's recently had a truck stolen. So he bought a new one, ordered a new one. And to this day, and this has been months, he doesn't even know if it started to be made so that he could get it. And it's all due to logistics and getting the supplies and the parts. So it has a big impact across all of us every single day. We just don't realize it.
So what about gas prices? How does that affect you guys, if it does?
It's obviously it's a huge portion of what we pay out to our service providers. The fuel is the biggest cost for most of them, so that is an impact. And through COVID and as we're coming out of it, gas price surge is increasing the cost of logistics pretty dramatically.
What about elections? And that could be nationwide. Does that affect you guys? Because I know it affects the real estate business.
It absolutely does. The previous administration, there were some trade spats with China that had impact.
I mean, China.
China.
You're right. So that has impacts. There's the interesting thing for our company is we handle the cargo on behalf of other people and for their businesses. So if something happens and let's say the economies are strong in Asia, well, then you're going to have a lot of demand coming out of Asia, coming into the U.S. We win because we're moving the freight from Asia to the U.S.
Gotcha.
When the U.S. economy is strong and it's weaker in Asia, they're buying from the U.S. and we're sending freight from the U.S. to Asia.
It's a win-win situation for you.
It does. It works. Since we are global, we benefit from the situation on both sides.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like, because in our industry, relating it to real estate, in our industry, if it's good on the selling end, it could be bad on the buying end. And right now, money-wise, it's good on both. We got good interest rates. You can make a lot for your house, but then there's that whole supply demand that we're dealing with. Yeah. But it's just so interesting to me. The moving parts blow my mind, and it makes me think a little bit, about it might take a second.
And none of us are going to die because it takes a second. It's just things that we're not used to because
we're used to instant. Like
we were very
Getting it
spoiled
right there.
prior to 2.5 years ago. If we wanted something, we could have it instantaneously. You wanted a new truck, there'd be 200 of them on the lot.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have it there, you could go down the street and get one. I wanted a couch.
So this is unrelated, but kind of related. Why are they still running like automobile ads? And even at the Super Bowl, they were running truck ads. You can't even go get a truck.
They probably still want their funnel to be
But why are you spending
filled.
money on that? Like you can't even go buy one.
Well,
You can put your name on one that's going to be produced.
but you want the consumer to have you first and foremost in their mind when
you
you
do
can't buy
finally
one.
get something?
It's like filling your sales funnel.
I don't know, it
so
drives
that
me
when
crazy.
things finally do kick in gear, you've got all.
Here's a
this-
truck, but you can't have
Yeah.
it.
Do you remember last year, or maybe it was the year before that, there was that like big like freight ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal because it couldn't turn around? Has anything like that happened to you guys, or was that you guys?
we had freight on that ship, yeah. I think it was the Evergreen Ever Given. I think was the name of it. Yeah, it was stuck in the Suez Canal for quite some time. So yeah, that did have a major impact on global shipping. There's a lot of commerce that travels through the Suez Canal, obviously from Asia going to Europe. So that they had to redirect ships around and go around that mess. So
Because he was blocking other.
Yes.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah,
It was
so both
interesting
directions.
to watch. I remember like every morning that would be my thing to watch. Like, okay, where's my ship? Okay, he's still stuck. It was
Yes.
kind of cute.
I recommend anybody going to look at the path that the ship traveled before entering the Suez Canal. That's some homework for you. Before it entered the Suez Canal, there's GPS tracking. It's quite interesting.
Really?
Oh.
Why?
Is there a conspiracy theory there?
No, it's funny.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did it make a funny shape or something?
It did, yeah.
Oh, okay. He's trying to be appropriate in his suit.
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a little segment that we
Called
like to call.
Tales from the Lockbox.
So, in the beginning of, or during 2020, beginning of the pandemic, I was super pregnant. And so this made things
Thanks, Tom.
Yes.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
Thank you.
We think.
Shut up. So one of the things that, being pregnant, you have cravings and stuff like that. So my poor husband would have to do our weekly grocery shopping of, going there and picking it up. And
Pickles and ice cream. And
I was more into like cake. I would want this red velvet cake that they would have at Market Street. And so they weren't, I guess, making the cake and slicing it where you could buy the one
You're
slice.
talking about the single.
Yeah, single serve slices. And so my poor husband would have to go to the store and come back and be like, so I got the bread, but they didn't have the cake. And every week there would be something that you'd be like, I know you really wanted this, but I got you this instead. It would be something
Why was he so
dramatically,
scared of you?
something dramatically different. I'd be like, oh no, it's totally fine. I didn't want it that way. Poor guy.
Tom.
Yeah.
He got her butt paste one time.
Oh, when you said butt, I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Butt paste is a good story. All right, Matt, we wanted to know if you had any stories to share, anything interesting.
I do. I have a pretty good one. When I was in Los Angeles, there's
We're sorry, by the way.
Oh, gosh.
right, yeah.
We're glad you're back.
There was in the industry there are unfortunate mishaps called cross labels, where a label goes on the wrong freight and they get crossed and they end up going to the wrong places.
Oh, no.
This happens. We always try our best to minimize this. But we had accounts that we consolidated in Los Angeles. One of them being the Mormon Church out of Utah. So it's a Salt Lake City account, and they send freight to Los Angeles to be sent. And there is another account in Los Angeles of more interesting material.
Okay. I get where you're going. I get what you're saying here.
Adult content.
Dildos.
Okay. It's Jaisy. Of course it's Jaisy.
I said it.
So yes, this was an account from Los Angeles and the account from Salt Lake, and
Which are very two different locations.
Can you imagine? the Bibles that they need to put in the hotel rooms, they go and they're like, what?
Yeah.
That's a penis.
I guess anyways, whenever the adult content stuff comes through, it becomes kind of a celebrity in the warehouse. Everybody goes out there, looks at it and giggles, takes selfies, and somebody goes out there to look at the freight and they're like, this is Mormon church material.
Oh no, so where's the other one?
Yes, so luckily we caught this before it left, but that could have been
That
quite
could have
That would have been funny if it was
disaster.
delivered to the Mormon church was like, no, we'll keep it. You don't got to come get it. It's fine.
Would that have been a predicament?
I think on that we need to level up just a little bit. So, if you know some of your friends, one of your friends or coworkers or family members, maybe your neighbor, they're going through a tough time. Maybe they're going through a rough patch at work. They can't get this guy's couch and he's screaming and yelling all about it. Do something nice for him. Do something to help him. Invite them out for coffee, drop them a card, give them a small gift, bring them some flowers, brighten their day. Just do something nice. We don't always, you see the yesterday at Rosa's is a good example. I'm over there to get my daily take on burritos in the morning because that's what I eat. And
Ann, I'm sorry. We try to make him eat healthy, but he doesn't listen to us.
well, Ann won't listen to this, but so I go over there to get my 3 breakfast burritos in the morning, and they are backed up worse than I've ever seen them. And the guy in front of me is going nuts, and this poor person's going as fast as they can, and he's going bananas. Just do something kind for people. There's no reason to lash out. Be pleasant. Lighten up a little bit.
Wait on your burrito. Be patient.
Take a second.
I'm waiting on my couch, and I am being patient. I'm not complaining. Ann hears about it every now and then.
You've complained a little bit.
Yeah, about 7 times.
We just brought it up in this session.
So if you're missing freight, just email Matt. We'll have his email below. I'm totally kidding.
MattSmith@gmail.com.
Yes.
He would love to help you directly. And if you want to be mad at someone, this is
who
this
we
is
I'm
the guy.
your guy.
Mad at Matt. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Matt, thank you so much. I feel like I have another 1,000 questions, but I will maybe to be continued. But thank you for sharing your story and educating us all. And he had a really cool presentation that he started with too, some pictures. We may post a couple of those.
He let us know.
But
Now, I do got to say something. This is the first time ever that a guest has brought in a PowerPoint to show us before
About
we
who they
start.
are.
he was very prepared.
This is
was
my
awesome.
this is my moral code. This is my family. These are my dogs. This is
all
what I
right.
do.
Well, thank y'all for
It's
joining
great.
us. Like, share, subscribe. We out.
Bye.
Just had a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.